So there's not really any new content today or tomorrow even. It looks like what is inside of these directories are examples and a lot of assignments. So just a lot of different ways to practice Docker and Docker Compose and GitHub Actions just a few more times before the assessment, right? So let me share my screen so there could be some context to what I'm talking about. Okay, so this is for Saturday. This is for today. CI for a Flask app. I looked at these and they look like essentially the exact same thing. Basically, you're creating a workflow in each one, and your starting point, the only difference between your starting point is the repository that you're asked to fork and clone down. So nothing really new, especially because I know last week and maybe even on Monday, I'm kind of drawing a blank as to everything we covered on Monday. I know we covered multi-stage builds, but I don't quite remember the example I was running. The ongoing examples I have been running before Monday, maybe including Monday, has been a full stack pipeline, right? So something with a Flask application, with a test suite, and Nginx serving a front end. And last Monday, several of you were able to get that running. And so that's, partially why I think you're all in a very good place for the assessment. So this isn't really anything new. That said, since it's not new, I do want to do something a little different, and I want to put somebody on the spot to run through one of these. So who is going to be my lucky volunteer?
You just want us to, sorry, I joined a little bit late. So you just
Yeah,
want somebody to do what exactly?
let's take one of these examples and just run through it live. Let's have somebody, yeah, just do it from start to finish. It is fairly short. It's pretty short, and just kind of talk us through it.
Is that a paid volunteer or no?
Um, can you share let me just kind of take a look at it first. I don't,
Okay.
I don't know, but
Let's see. It is week 18, day 3. Let me paste this in the Zoom chat. Okay, let's actually step through it right now a little more slowly, right? So we're focused on creating Docker workflows in GitHub Actions. So you start a project, you create your secrets and environment variables, and then you write a workflow. And then you trigger the workflow and we confirm if it succeeded or not. Easy peasy, right?
no, easy peasy. I think, let me see. I've done this
Mhm.
before. This application. I don't think I did it with the Docker username and password, the environment portion.
Yeah.
So I've
It's
actually, go
oh
ahead.
oh no, you go on. Sorry.
I was gonna say I've done Dockerized that app, but I haven't the 2048, but I didn't. Yeah, that just didn't do the passwords and username. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It shouldn't be too different then, so should be easy to set up a new project and run through it, right?
I'm not setting up a new one. I'm gonna use the same one and enhance it. Right?
You
Just
could
take.
do that too. You could do that too, actually. Yeah. Let's do it.
Okay, let's try it. I mean, let's see. I don't know if you guys can hear my background. If you can, just ignore that.
I don't hear anything. I think you have good noise
Awesome.
canceling.
Oh, good. Let's see. Do. Yeah. And then give me like few minutes to look at it again. So we did that app, I think last week with Chandra, or it was one of the assignments he gave us on Saturday.
Mhm.
Hmm. And let me pull up CLI. I guess what's the point of the Docker username and password?
So we could use Docker Hub.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's probably the part I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably just a copy and paste.
In my examples, I've been using the GitHub container registry. It's nice to have a little exposure to both. They're essentially the same thing. I prefer GitHub just because it's integrated with everything here, right? So it's a little simpler to work with. But Docker, I do think Docker is still more widely used than GitHub Container Registry, and it's been around longer.
20. All right. Create a file name. All right. Let's do it. Doing it live, right?
Yep.
You just gonna go, she has no idea what she's doing. That's fine. My entire screen.
Okay.
Oops. Okay, so I already have a Docker file, but this one says create a new file called this. And I'm assuming it's just gonna have all this stuff in it.
Mhm.
Create it. And there it is. And then I'm gonna copy this. And I'm gonna paste it in there. Now all I have to do is set my Docker username and password.
Yeah. Does anyone
Hmm,
think Paige needs to step back and slow down a bit?
Probably.
Um, does she need to make a workflow?
Yes, exactly. So Paige, I think I noticed I heard you say at the start that you already had a Docker file, but
This
that you
one?
create this. Yeah. So this inside of the README is not a Docker file. It is a workflow, a GitHub Actions workflow.
Oh, okay. Well, GitHub Actions is like the one part I didn't understand of this entire thing.
Oh, well,
Um,
it's good that you're doing this now then.
yeah, I'm really excited. Glad to be here.
Right on.
What? I think so. I need to go to my repo, the forked version of this app, which is somewhere in in
Well, you already have it locally, right? You've got to put
yes.
in your VS Code, so we can just work from there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So the way that GitHub Actions workflows work is it just reads YAML files from a very specific directory. So if you go back to that README, it tells you where to place that file.
Go back. Oh, okay. So let me make a directory. So, and it's going to be called .github
Mhm.
and workflows. Oh, I thought you could just make it like that. Can you not?
You could do a dash P, I believe, if you want to have some
Like,
directories.
oh, let me just run it. Oh, no, it didn't work. So .github slash workflows. Like that. Hey.
I think so, yeah.
Oop, okay. And then I'm going to move. Probably should have did that first. So, move Docker build
Mhm.
to, how would I just say, would it be just a period at the end? Okay.
Yep, got it.
And then, wonderful. So we moved it to where it needs to be.
Cool. Okay. Do you have the GH command line tool installed?
I don't know.
Let's do, just try typing GH dash dash help.
Yes.
Nice. Okay.
Right? No. Okay.
All right. So one thing you could do since you have this is you could just use this to add secrets directly into your repository, your current repository, right? So if you do a GH secret set,
That, like that.
mhm, and let's take the secret that we want to add. So let's start with Docker underscore username.
Docker.
And let's
Okay.
let's do a dash B, a space dash B. I can't remember if this works with secrets. It works with variables, but let's see if it works for secrets. And do a space and then type in your Docker username.
Docker. Okay. Uh, I guess that's my Docker username. But let me double check. Let me bring up Docker too. I
Okay.
think I've got this open. Yep. And enter.
Mhm.
Mm,
Let's go up to directories and see if it's going to work, if it works from the root.
so from here,
Mhm. Yeah, you may not have your GH command line set correctly then. You would need to, I believe you would need to set up your SSH key to work with it.
okay, yeah, because it's saying Chandra's repo and not my own. Is that?
Oh, I see. That's a good catch. So you didn't fork first, right? Instead
Yeah,
is
I just
okay.
want.
So let's go back to the website. Let's do, you could fork it right now.
And I can move this entire stuff to,
Yep. So
okay.
grab the URL the same way you normally would when you're cloning down. Okay. Now in here you want to type GitHub remote. I always forget if it's remote set or remote add. Let me see. remote add,
One word or dash at?
2 words.
Okay.
And I believe now you just, right, you give this a name. So yeah, that works.
Page. Maybe.
Sure. And now you could paste in the URL.
So this is gonna go within the folder that I already cloned, or should I go up one? And
Oh, this should be fine because what this is doing actually is it's setting a URL. That's all it's doing. It's setting like a link to an external URL. Okay. Yeah, hit enter.
oh, GH. Sorry. Right. So
No, actually Git, sorry. Not GitHub, but Git. Okay, great. Now do a git remote dash dash v.
V.
Mhm. All right, so this is now showing you what URLs you have associated with your your local project, right? And so you could push and pull from either of these locations using by using the name when you run those commands, right? So like you would do git push 2048 dash page if you wanted to push it to your fork, and you would do push origin if you wanted to push it to origin. Now, now I think we have to set a primary URL so that when you run gh secret set, it knows to add it to the fork and not to the original source. So let's do a git remote get dash URL. Yeah,
And
let's
then
hit.
put this one.
Oh no, I just want to see what comes up. Oh, get URL like GET.
Oh, get.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Let's do.
Wait, I think it's oh no, there it is. That's it. Get URL.
Let's try all. That's weird. Push must be a required argument if it's repeating that. Okay, so I don't think that's what we want actually. Let's see. Is it set? If you do git remote dash dash help, you could see what I'm looking at in my own terminal. Trying to look through these commands and see which one we might want to be using. So let me see.
Get URL? Is that what? Or did we just do that?
Yeah, we tried the get URL. I don't know if that's exactly what we want. You could also, I'm sure you could run help on any of these as well if you want additional input. So if you want to read through one of them and try it. 'Cause I haven't had to do this ever, I think. So let's see.
Uh, to clone, but you'll only select a browser. Remote add. Origin.
So we could also, yeah, we could also, I think, point to the right URL now with GH secrets set. So let me actually check this. Set dash dash help. Okay. So let's try, yeah, GH secrets set. And let's do a dash dash repo. And let's just try the name of that new remote URL. So that would be 2048 dash page.
Let's pass name argument. So,
Okay, yeah. Now you would add the environment variable that you want to set a secret for. So that was going to be Docker username, right?
yes. So, the Docker, initial username, and then,
Dash B for a body.
oh, it wants the full
Mm,
you get URL or
yeah, looks like it wants yeah, nice. Cool. Okay, so now let's do this for your Docker password and just delete the dash B. And it should prompt you for a password and it should mask it so we don't see anything.
so
Yeah, just delete that last value as well. And now it'll be interactive. It's going to prompt you.
paste receiver.
Yeah, type a character first. I want to make sure it's masked and just type
Oh,
something
okay.
repeated. Okay, cool.
I really hope this is my password. I don't think I use a password. Don't, I don't remember. I think I just log in with my like Gmail, it connects your account automatically. You don't have a password. I'm not sure if I have one.
Okay.
Let's see. Maybe I can, if I do, maybe I can just change the password and then I'll know the password. Then I'll save the password.
And if there isn't one, we could just try to leave it blank too and see if we run into problems later on.
I could change it. That's fine. I'll just reset it. What email address is this?
That's intense. And for everyone else, to if you're not already like trying this on your own local machine, I would say give it a shot, try to catch up, and we'll see through the Docker Hub UI if it gets pushed successfully.
All right. So I reset my Docker password, put it in there.
Cool. Nice. Okay, what is next?
Let's see. So everything's set. US East 1. I guess that was all the AWS stuff was set up in a previous course or a previous class, so it should all already be there. Right. Just I haven't changed anything,
Mhm.
but I guess how would I could probably just Google it, but if you know it off the top of your head, check the my current AWS like account because I believe I was using the the whole Platoon account, but I don't know if I'm using my own account either. So
Okay. Let me pull up. I have aliases for these. I never remember. I can't ever memorize these commands. So let me see. Okay. So for AWS, if you want to, okay. So you should have do an ls and then do the tilde. Oh, all one. Let's do yeah, the tilde and forward slash dot AWS forward slash config. Hmm. I wonder if it's hidden. Let's do an ls dash a.
the same.
Mhm. Okay. If if you did want to be able to switch between multiple AWS profiles, you would do so by having a credentials file and a configuration file in this directory. What's interesting is you have the directory created, but it's empty.
Maybe I have to put one more. I don't know. Okay.
You try typing AWS and just hitting enter. Oh, like not in the pad, like just the command.
Oh, like just type AWS.
Yeah. Or AWS help either. Okay, so you do have the command line installed. Um,
Profile. This is a lot of stuff.
you
Not
need to hit
very.
Q to get out of if
Hey, what are you looking for? Your credentials?
Well, I'm just trying to see which account I'm using. Like, I just want to, and
Oh,
maybe,
if you
like I said,
do AWS STS get caller ID, that should give you something.
like get. Oh, wait, is this all one word? Is this
Oh, yeah, well, sorry. That's just I remember this because I use this all the time. AWS space STS, and I think it's space get caller ID that get caller ID dash. I don't know. Let me look it up.
get caller ID? Oh, there it is. Okay, so there's some dashes in there. Let's see, and then identity. Okay, wonderful. This is the this is the whatever account.
yeah, you might
The
want to hit
co
Command
the code
K
platoon.
near your screen. That's being recorded.
I mean, all it is what the key.
Okay.
And luckily, it's not the actual secret.
Okay. Cool. So now that you know which profile are you using the right profile?
Yes, I believe so. I think that's the one
Okay.
that's with code platoon.
So let's see. When you say you have it set up already, are you saying like you have an EC2 that's stopped?
No, hold on. Yeah, that's the right one. Okay, so what I meant by set up already is that I already had my AWS account. I thought already associated with this. So when it does this US East one portion, it's going to do it to the code platoon, I guess, environment.
Got it. Got it. Oh, that
Here.
totally makes sense. So right now, we aren't doing anything with AWS exactly. Um, I wonder why the example has the AWS.
Yeah, that's a little confusing. I was going to ask Julius because it seems here that most of the credentials that we're looking for are only so we can access Docker Hub, either push or pull from our registry. So that was a little confusing.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. I just maybe my guess is it's there because it's supposed to be like a foundation for expanding on this and incorporating AWS. But right now it's not being used. So if if and when you get to a point where you're going to use it, you could also set environment variables for your AWS user. So like you would set like your AWS private, not private, which key would it be?
Access key. And
Yeah, exactly, your access key. And you could do it the exact same way you're doing with the Docker username and password right now, just um, creating the variables and then adding them to your secrets.
okay. And if, let's say, so for example, right now my CLI is associated already with CP Charlie. So would
Mhm.
I need to add, is there any way to like kind of transfer those permissions without, I guess, explicitly adding them? I don't know if that makes any sense. As a secrets portion of this,
No,
like it's already there, but not really.
unfortunately not, because GitHub
Okay.
Actions workflows run on a GitHub server, right? And I'm gonna slightly amend that because technically there is a way, a very complicated way, because you are able to self-host a GitHub Actions runner. So if you have the setup, then yes, you could have that those values just stored locally. But we are running GitHub Actions from the GitHub server, so they have to be sent in through secrets.
Okay. But it sounds like we don't need it right
Right
now.
now,
AWS.
right,
Okay.
exactly. Right now we don't need it. If you want, you can comment it out. You can just leave it there. Either way, delete it. Yeah, whatever you want.
I'll just leave it there.
Okay,
See what happens.
cool. So, all right, what's next?
So we have, let me just see something. So we have the Docker build. We're doing this through GitHub. So would this be through GitHub or is this going to be in the Docker hub?
Both. So it's
Oh.
right, exactly. It's going to push to Docker Hub from the GitHub Action servers.
Ah, okay. All right, we're getting there. I'm starting to understand some things. Okay. So
Cool.
now I think all I do is let me go to, I have a little text file. Let's go back to all of the things I've done. I have to build it. Yeah, I think I build it, but when I build it, I need to direct specifically to this YAML file, or else it's gonna automatically no.
Well, let's give it a shot. Let's see how you would do it. Let's write it out.
I'm thinking. Let me go. Let's write Docker, right? I'm gonna put build, maybe. I don't know. I'm gonna put a little T for whatever that stands for, and then I think I name it tag, maybe. I don't know.
Well, are you doing this locally or are you writing it into your workflow so that it could be run automatically inside of GitHub Actions?
Oh, I don't know how to do that, Julius. be honest with you.
Okay, so let's go back to the workflow and let's go all the way down and let's add a new step.
And then we'll put, I assume it's called, oops, name again, or would I do that?
Hmm.
And it says push Docker, and this is going to,
So I don't know. I don't want to spoil it. Um,
spoil away. I'm all for spoilers.
if anybody else wants to jump in,
So,
guess not.
push to GitHub Actions.
So you can name the step whatever you want, right? Like it's arbitrary. It's really for your own benefit, whatever you name it, and technically your colleagues and your coworkers as well, because they'll have to be able to decipher and interpret your workflows and code, right? So if we were writing out a manual way of running the build command, then you could name it something like, yeah, build and push, exactly. Push and build. Well, it would,
Build and push, yeah. And push.
mhm.
And this is being sent to GitHub Actions.
Yes.
Okay.
This entire workflow is going to be sent and run inside of GitHub Actions.
Okay.
Oh,
And
oh, oh,
then,
oh, that's what you meant? No, it's going to be pushed to Docker Hub.
oh, okay. I guess I'll see the connection later. From Docker Hub. Then it's going to go to GitHub Actions. And then then GitHub Actions is going to do the work
It
using
start
the Docker Hub like template.
it starts inside of GitHub Actions, and it everything that is inside of this workflow is run inside of an environment inside of GitHub Actions.
Okay, I have it in my brain. I have it reversed. So what you're saying is this, when I'm done with this and I run this, it's going to go to GitHub Actions. And from GitHub Actions, it's going to push it to Docker Hub.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay, okay. So what's the difference between the step that I'm doing here and the step above here?
You want to take a stab at it before I say?
It says, okay, so build and push a Docker image, and I'm building then pushing to Docker Hub. Where is this Docker image being pushed to? Uh, is it just you push true? I
Let's
Yeah,
work
I don't know what
from where
to
you're
do.
at. Let's work backwards from where you're at. Okay, so you just asked the question, where is it going to be pushed to? Let's look at the previous step.
Right, Docker Hub. Log
Mhm.
into Docker Hub, and then it says build and push the Docker image.
Right. But to answer your question, how would this step answer your question? The question of where it's going to be pushed to in Docker Hub.
Well, it's gonna be pushed. I guess where I'm confused at is like, is it just gonna? Well, I don't know. I'm just gonna go with I don't know because
Okay.
I don't get why we would build and push twice.
We wouldn't.
If,
We wouldn't.
okay.
Right. So what you started doing in line 44,
Mhm.
you can write a manual command for running build. And so it would be something like run pipe, and then you follow that with multiple lines of commands. So the same kind of commands you would run locally, like build or Docker build. And that's essentially running the the steps you would locally inside of the GitHub Actions environment. So That is one way of doing it. The other way is to use a pre-built action, and that's one of the benefits of GitHub Actions. There are official actions, community-built actions that already do a lot of work behind the scenes for you. So above, where you're using the Docker login action, all that's doing is it's logging into your Docker account. So inside of
Right.
GitHub Actions workspace, that temporary environment, it logs into your account. And so the next step, when it runs push, build and push, it will push to your registry.
Right, but it also builds it, right?
Yes, build and push to your registry.
Okay. And then after it builds and push, then I would just have to, wouldn't this step just be running it? Would it be build and push again?
Not necessarily, no. Uh,
Okay.
the goal is to get it into Docker Hub. And so that's it. That's actually the end of what you need to do.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well,
Yeah. Reasons that you might want to run the build commands manually. I can't really think of any great ones. I guess if you just maybe if you already have like a script or something, right? And you just want to like use that. Um, Also, maybe sometimes an action doesn't give you enough flexibility, especially if you're trying to do something a little more atypical or complex. But in this case, you don't need line 44 unless you're trying to replace line 37, the block at line 37.
okay, it's good. Because that's where I was getting at. I was like, are we rewriting the line before it? Because when you said build and push, I was like, okay, isn't that what the previous one is doing? Okay, so I don't need line 44.
Mhm. No, you
Oh,
don't.
okay, good. All right, cool. Cool beans. Because all we're doing is using GitHub Actions to take this and put this Docker image in a nice, cute little package in Docker Hub.
Exactly.
Already built, and from Docker Hub, it can be run,
It will have to be pulled first and then run.
then run. Okay, cool. So this should be done. This is
Yeah.
my
That's the trick
okay, it
there.
should be done. So now I just have to do the GitHub portion of it
Mhm.
in the down here, right? So I go do the GitHub stuff, which I'm terrible at, as I mentioned earlier. So I don't really know those commands because I'm
Okay. Well,
let's see if I have anything for Git. Let's go back.
I see it.
You saw it?
Yeah, scroll back down. I see it again.
Hear my son
Start
screaming.
with get status.
Git status?
Yeah, I like to start with get status because it tells you it's just a way to review the state of your local repository, right? So you've changed index.html. You also have created new files that are not yet associated with your repo. So you're probably going to want to add those, right?
Do git add. Or I could do git commit dash A.
You have to add first.
Okay. Git add. Oh, whoops. A little period, I think, is what I.
Mhm.
There we go.
Now run a get status again. And now it tells you that these changes are ready to be committed. So basically, the reason you have to add, well, not even have to, well, I guess you do have to, but the reason these steps are broken out this way is this gives you the ability to add and remove files over a period of time before you're ready to actually move them up, right? So it gives you a bit of flexibility. So you're not like um, getting lost in I forget what they're called, the different parts of GitHub. Shoot, I can't believe I'm blanking on it. Basically, every commit is recorded, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the benefits of using GitHub Action, or sorry, just GitHub in general. Having the commits recorded is a way of essentially managing state and its version control, right? Adding and removing and all that stuff does not persist. Like that's your way of having the flexibility and freedom to edit your files over time and collaborate with teammates, get reviews, et cetera, et cetera. And when you're ready to make the change, that's when you commit.
And so when everyone's kind of working, let's say we're all working on this 2048. Yeah.
Hmm.
When I do git add or git status, I'll say that will only show the things I'm working on, right?
Exactly.
And it'll only commit the things I'm working on when I do the git commit.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. So now I think we're ready to commit.
Okay.
And let's do a dash.
Whoops.
It's okay. So what's happening right now is it's asking for a commit message, right? Because it needs to associate your commit with some kind of message. And that's why it just opened up that file.
Oh, here it is at the top. Yeah.
So you can just follow those instructions if you
Please
want.
enter the message. Blah, blah, blah. It's starting with this name.
And you could just hit enter and add a new inside of the text document. And yeah, inside of there, just add a new line. It technically doesn't matter where, as long as it's like, because everything else is commented out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what?
Message.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's going to be your commit message. Save and close it out. Or
It
write
could be
what
nothing. Okay.
it's, yeah, arbitrary.
Update. Does it need to be a string? Like, does it need to be in quotations? Does it matter? Does it not matter?
Because you're doing it inside of the file, it's going to be converted into a string. And if it
Okay.
have any characters that it just really doesn't like, it'll let you know.
Okay. Updated. That it. All right. I'm gonna save it. Oop.
Mhm. And
And I'm gonna do and close it.
okay. Now it's opening another file. Oh, it's because you ran the command twice, I think. It aborted the.
Hmm.
Oh, it's aborting because of an empty commit message. It's not reading your message. Try
Let me
again.
just
Just enter and just add a message.
let me take out this. Maybe.
It doesn't need to be lined up with that. All of that stuff is just
Oh, it
commented.
looks nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Message here. Sure. And then I'm gonna save it.
Hmm.
And then I'm gonna close it.
Yeah. Okay, now do a git status. Let's see if it committed. Okay, looks like it still didn't commit. Let's try something else. When you do your git commit, instead of a dash A, let's do
Dash
a
M.
dash M. Yes. And now
Okay.
add a message. Yep. Cool. And do a git status. Nice.
Okay. Now it looks like it's that I can push.
Hmm. So
All right.
let's do a git push and
And
to your fork.
second,
Let's push to your fork and not the source repository. Remember how
would
we,
it be?
oh, go on.
No, I was gonna say, which one? Yeah, would I have to put in the actual URL, the git URL for my 4?
It could just be the name you gave it.
Oh, okay. So that was 2048 dash page, I think.
Hmm.
And let me just double check my.
Oh, you're not. Okay.
Oh, I'm.
Well, that's fine. I was gonna have you just type in one last thing, and that would have been a branch. But because you left it blank, it just pushed to the default or main branch, which is right now called master.
Okay. That works for me.
Cool. All right. Command click, or you're on Windows. I don't know if that's gonna work. Control click that link, and maybe it pops up,
I guess. Oops.
or maybe like Alt. I don't know how it is on Windows.
Are you trying to just open it? That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Oh, okay.
Okay. All
Now
right.
go to.
Let's see if your changes are in there. I see the GitHub workflows folder, so that's good.
Mm,
And we see your file. So let's go to the Actions tab and let's click on that. It looks like your workflow ran, but it failed.
Line 8, right here.
That's something else. Yeah, the example, for
Oh,
whatever
there's.
reason, has it twice. It's not
Oh,
supposed.
okay. I can just take this out.
Yep.
And then save. Then do get status just to see what's changed. I'm assuming it's going to be this.
Mhm.
Wonderful. And then I'm going to put get add, and I put the little dot at the end. All right. And then get emit, whoops, emit ag m corrected the Docker build YAML. And now push it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, let's confirm that it pushed. Cool. Click on the Docker build YAML. It's good that we're seeing yellow. Yellow means that it's in progress. You could click on that to expand it. And we could see all of the commands being run live, and it looks like it succeeded.
Now I check Docker Hub to see if it's there.
Exactly.
Oh, oh, here we go. Come on, buddy. Let's see. Docker. This one. Hey.
Cool.
Oh, okay. And now from here, do you want me to then run the application from?
That's if you want to keep going, then we could definitely keep going.
Why not? I mean, do you have anything else to learn right now? I mean, like, if this is beneficial for everyone, it's beneficial for me. I don't mind.
Okay.
But if, okay.
So
So
what would the next step be? Now that it's accessible in a remote location, what does that mean?
that means, so I remember vaguely in one of our classes that we're able to pull from our like Docker hub,
Mhm.
and then instead of having it locally saved on your Docker, it checks Docker hub and it finds it there, then it pulls it to your device, and then you're able to run whatever Docker image that you have.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, how was that done? Let
Well,
me
we want
see.
this to exist remotely, right? We don't want it running on your local machine. It has to run remotely so that it could be publicly accessible, right?
Okay. Is that where AWS comes in?
Exactly.
Okay. I would say I don't remember. Maybe everyone else might. But I don't think we did that step.
We
I don't
have.
think we did. Okay. Well, I don't remember it.
You've got a few
So,
ways of going about it, right? Like, so the second module we went through using AWS to create EC2s and other resource manually, right? Like we did
hmm
everything through the console. And then in module 3, we learned Terraform, where we were able to write Terraform files to create EC2s and stuff for us.
Okay, yes.
Do you have any of those Terraform files saved? Like you might have everything you need somewhere, actually.
Might. Let's see. Explosion and Terraform. Oh, Terraform. What is this one? Oops. That now that one had a secret key in it. I don't know what secret key, but it was there. I guess that's before we learned about variables.
Probably, yes.
Yeah, because this is really, really old, I think.
Okay. Well, we could work off of, let's work off an example. So let me get a URL for you. Well,
So quite a few Terraform files. Is this one?
oh, I think this is from the week that got overwritten. But give me one sec. Okay, I am going to share a link inside of Zoom. This is from week 16, day one, the challenge in week 16, day one.
This isn't it, right? What this is? No.
You can see it in your browser.
Oh, you put it in the Zoom chat?
Yep. Oh, I didn't hit enter yet. My bad.
Oh. Okay.
Okay.
I remember this. Hmm.
Yeah, this is a template that basically has a back end, front end, and an infrastructure directory with Terraform files and Ansible playbooks. Well, I guess I didn't include the Ansible playbooks, but tell us what this Terraform file does.
So this one seems to be creating an S3 bucket, USC1.
Is it creating an S3 bucket?
The required provider is backend S3 bucket. Oh, there's already a bucket that exists, and this is
Mhm.
the name of that bucket.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's the instance. So you didn't, okay. Well, this part's creating an EC2 instance, right? Using an AMI. This portion right here.
Yes.
And added this tag to it. Okay, let's see. Then showing the EC2 IP address, URL, and connecting to the EC2 instance. I'm just reading descriptions at this point. Let's see, resource is creating a security group. And these are all of the ingress rules for that security group, which is inbound and then the egress outbound rules
Mhm.
for that security group.
Okay, so let's back up a bit. In line 22,
Twenty-two.
explain that block to me.
So this one, let me compare it to one. I don't think I've ever used that in any of mine. The data bucket or the data line.
So in Terraform, there really are only a few types of resources that you create. Basically, most everything is going to be a resource, right? And that's why we use the resource keyword. The difference between a data and a resource keyword, anyone want to call it out?
Isn't the resource something you're creating right as you are instantiating your Terraform, and the data is a resource that has already been created, and you're just grabbing the information?
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So when you said page, it's making an S3
Oh,
bucket. This is why I wanted to point out specifically that it's not making a bucket. It's actually grabbing an existing one. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to save Terraform state remotely. And the way it's configured, we save a Terraform state lock inside of an S3 bucket. And there's a path that we also give it because that path is associated with well, the location of the file inside the bucket, but also a Dynamo DB table that references that lock. So TLDR, this whole remote backend is already set up and ready to go for you to use. The only thing you want to change is the first part of that key path. Like you would want to name that something like page dash whatever project you're working on, because that's a remote state lock, right? Like that's a Terraform state. If you use somebody else's state, you'll probably run into a failure because your files may not be set up to match that state. Does that make sense?
yes, but I guess the question that I have, you said I would have to change this, right, into something of my own,
That's the first
right?
part.
Oh, just this February 18 demo. And
Yeah.
then,
Yeah, this is the folder name, is all that is.
so if this S3 bucket already exists, do I have to then create the folder I'm going to use also in the S3 bucket?
It will create it itself. If the folder doesn't exist, it will create it itself.
Okay, so that's the part that it will create. So it will create this, but everything else exists already.
Right. Everything that uses data exists already.
Okay. Okay. Insert bucket DynamoDB. Yep. I am instance. I'm
I
sorry if
also,
you guys can hear my son crying in the background, but
oh, do you need to step away?
no, someone's watching him, but he's just yelling.
Okay. Also, I am sorry. I just realized that this repo did not have a README and that the updated README was in my fork. So that's been missing this entire time. I just updated the repo. So if you want to refresh it, refresh the main.
Okay, let me go back. I guess I could just refresh it here. It should.
Yeah,
There it
and
is.
yeah, click on. Okay, yeah. So this walks you through how you would actually use this repo, right? You basically set up your secrets and then you change that path like I'm showing you.
Hmm.
And that's about it. You also want to update the security groups that you're using if you don't want to use the ones that are already being used. And then there are examples under all of these. So that's how this template works.
Okay, so if I go back to this, Oh, no, actually, open this in a new page. Can I do that? No? Okay. That's fine. I'll do it this way. That. So I would need to then inside, well, okay. When I create this Terraform file, let's say for this, wouldn't I need to then put that, wouldn't I need to put all of this in the GitHub portion and roundabout, then come back around and put it back in Docker Hub so it can run with this stuff already intact?
Yes and no. So we created one workflow, right? And that was to push a project to Docker Hub. This is a separate workflow entirely. This is for setting up the resources for that application. So provisioning the compute resource, the EC2, and
Mhm.
all of the necessary requirements to enable public access, along with some template project directories that you can use or you could delete, but it is different. Now you could combine the two into one project, but you would run each workflow separately depending on what your goal is, right? Like you would only
Okay,
need to run this pipeline when you're first setting up the resources. If they're already running, then you don't need to run this again.
gotcha. That makes sense. So I guess for this one, this is like you said, a template, but my app, the 2048 app doesn't require an S3 bucket. It just requires the EC2 instance, right? And
Yes and no. I think the 2048 app actually can run out of an S3 bucket. That's how simple it is. Uh,
oh, okay,
Now
gotcha.
the assessment won't be that simple.
Well, you said it was gonna be easy and that we're all gonna get it.
I mean,
That's what you said.
it
I'm
is.
holding you to it.
It is, and I'm very confident that you will. You will get it. So,
Okay. So I guess if you look over here at mine that I have set up, right?
mhm.
This one, um it won't create the Terraform state in a folder. It'll just create it in the main bucket, right?
Right.
If it's running like this. So so I'll add page here. Now I'm gonna copy all this. Actually, let me just copy this part and then place mine. Actually, all of this might be useful. Just I don't think I need Elasticsearch. I don't think unless we're gonna do the whole let's monitor the traffic and all of that. I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt, but I
You
don't
could
think I
use,
need it.
you'll have different options. Like you don't need to use the Elk stack. You could just use CloudWatch. So you would write a CloudWatch resource. It might actually be easier to um, just do CloudWatch, but it's really up to you. Like you'll get bonus points if you want to go the hard route of setting up an entire
Oh,
Elasticsearch stack. But you have a
okay.
week to pull off the project. So focus on like the core objectives first and then the stretch goals and nice to haves.
So actually, let me not do it on this file. Let's see, because I need to do it within. Well, you said it'll be an entirely different workflow
Mhm. Now, keep in mind,
because.
the Terraform file is not a workflow, but it gets called from the workflow. Okay, okay. Let's actually look at the workflow first. So right now we've looked at the Terraform file and it's hunky-dory. You understand a Terraform file, you're in a good state. Let's go over to the GitHub directory inside of this project,
Okay,
to the
like
left
just the
in the browser.
on this one.
Yeah. And let's
Okay.
look at the workflow here.
Oh, this is what you mentioned earlier too.
Mhm. Yeah. So talk us from the very top, talk us through this workflow,
Okay.
detailed
So,
as can be.
so this is the app deployment pipeline.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. It's gonna push to this dev branch. Cool.
It's not
And
it's not This itself,
I'm sorry, it doesn't. I'm sorry. It's not. No, sorry. That's a mistake. I didn't mean to say it's pushing to the when the dev branch is pushed to. There we go. Sorry, I apologize. Then let's see. It has workflow dispatch. I don't know what this is, but it sounds like it's just kind of setting. These are the options of whatever logs
yeah,
are running
it's a play
from.
exactly. It's a placeholder for things that don't actually exist. I probably should not have included all of that in the pipeline. Workflow dispatch, basically all that does is it allows you to manually trigger the workflow from the UI, so you don't have to like push a change to actually test the workflow. So it's just a
Okay.
convenient feature.
And how would you do that?
When you go to actions, it would pop up. You won't see a placeholder for it right now, but if
Yeah.
you were to use it, you would see it. You might actually be able to see it in here if you click on actions. Click on the left where it says add deployment pipeline. There, you see where it says run workflow.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that's how that works.
Okay, cool. Let's go back to GitHub workflow. Blah, 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 blah. Cool. Release type published. I guess it's just setting it as published. I don't know.
This first part is essentially like conditions for when it will trigger. So there are three different conditions for triggering this workflow. One is when it's pushed to the dev branch. Two, if you manually push it. Or three, if you create a release.
Oh, so on either push workflow dispatch for the manual one you just showed me or on a release. Okay, that makes sense. It's all nested in the on
Mhm.
under on. Okay, that makes sense. All right, defaults. It's defaulting to batch. All right, and this is the working directory.
Mhm.
Cool. This one is setting the environment variables, which I assume are the ones that we store in GitHub.
Yes.
Okay. Permissions. Let me just go back. Okay. Read pull pull request. It can write. Oh, it writes on the pull request. Contents read. Not really sure what that means either. It could just read the content. Read write
Exactly.
permission.
Yeah, exactly. That's all that is.
Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness. My son is tearing it up. So runs on Ubuntu latest. Okay, it's just the latest Ubuntu, I guess, version.
Also runs on as a requirement. It's what sets the operating system installed inside of the workspace. You could think of the workspace as being like a temporary EC2, right? When the work
Right.
triggers, it just spins up, it runs all this stuff, and then it self, not really self-destructs, it just disappears into the ether. It spins down.
Okay, so it's like okay, so it runs on this Ubuntu, and then these are the steps that it takes. We'll say
Hmm.
using actions. So I guess GitHub action, it, right?
Yeah. Do
GitHub
you know what the
actions.
checkout action does?
I'm assuming it checks out um the gosh, because you can check out the the repository or no,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
where you're the only person working on it, or
Yes.
how?
Yes. And except it would be setting it for the workflow, right? So that
Right.
checkout is what allows your workflow to access the GitHub repos files when it's doing its thing.
Okay. So then set up Terraform.
Hmm.
So here it's using Terraform and it's using Terraform this version, right?
Hmm.
So it's getting all the stuff for Terraform and then, yeah, okay, cool. Then write SSH private key to file. We'll make directory. Making this directory for the SSH key, it's gonna echo the private key, which is SSH private key up here. It's gonna
Hmm.
reference that, and it's gonna put it here in this file. And
Hmm.
it's gonna change the permissions, I guess, to it,
Hmm.
so it's able to use it.
Yes.
And then it does this twice. Oh, no. Okay. This is the AWS private key. All right, that's something slightly different. This is wait, SSH private key, SSH private key. Mm,
It's not absolutely necessary to use different keys. That's just how I ended up setting up. So, when we SSH onto an EC2, we've been using the CP class students.temp file, right? That's
or
my
whatever one we created. Yeah.
that's my AWS SSH key. And then my regular SSH key is my GitHub SSH key.
Okay, so you have an SSH key. So this one's the one within GitHub. This one, the first one, because
Exactly.
we've been using the SSH key for AWS, like you said. That one is just we have our own private. We all should, I think, have our own private pen file that we use to,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's this one.
Hmm.
I don't know if I have, but you said it's not completely necessary, right? Like,
No, it's not completely necessary. I wish I probably should have found a way to like make that more explicit that it's optional. But yes, modify this to your use case, right?
okay, because then it's Terraform init, so it's initializing Terraform, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then Terraform clan. I forgot what plan did. Been so long since we used assessment 2 is Terraform, and we haven't even done assessment 3. So don't really remember what it does on the top of my head. I think it just I think it tells you if like there's errors. It like kind of checks it
Yeah,
before you run it or you apply it. It's just like,
exactly.
hey, this isn't gonna work or it is gonna work, and you go through it.
Exactly. It's a dry run.
Yeah, it's coming back to me. All right, so then Terraform reply that will then run well, I don't have it up anymore. That would run whatever Terraform we had created
Mhm.
infrastructure portion, which builds up the S3 bucket, or doesn't build the S3 bucket. It uses an already created S3 bucket and then sets all the security groups and all the other stuff that Terraform file did.
Mhm.
And then it says install Ansible. So if true, which is interesting, I don't know
That's
why if true.
that's a very convenient way of like enabling or disabling a step, basically. Like you can manually set it to false, and it'll just skip that entire step. It's essentially
Okay,
the
so
same thing as like commenting and commenting out the whole block, except it will still show inside of your logs and just say that it was skipped if it says if false.
that makes sense. Then run sudo, then it's just running, it's installing Ansible.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And then set up on test provision needs provision info. So that is that anywhere near? Needs provision info. Do you needs anywhere else? I can't. I don't.
Scroll up a bit.
Not quite. Say again?
Scroll up a bit more.
Oh, here. Oh, okay. So it needs this, which is everything we just did here. Uh,
Exactly. It needs
and
that.
so yeah, okay, so that makes sense. So it needs this, which is all these things,
Mhm.
all the things. It runs on Ubuntu. Okay, default the same as before. Dash working directory. It looks like it's going to create some kind of Flask API. Oh no, it should. This is this one.
Mhm.
And then the steps. Check out the code. Set up Python. Action Python version this. Okay. This looks like one of those things that you said were already pre-installed. If you just put it in there, then it'll do all the Python things.
Exactly. Yes.
And then it's going to show the working directory by just running this command. Cool. Installing dependencies. Is there a reason there's a pipe at the beginning of this?
Yep. Pipe is what allows for the interpreter to know that you're passing in a multi-line command.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so pip install upgrade pip because you need pip to do the requirements txt install portion, verify PyTest installation, and then run test PyTest. I don't know what PyTest is, but we gotta make sure it's installed. It's necessary for whatever reason it's necessary.
Yeah. So
Eh,
think about like what's happening at like a broader scale, right? We're building a pipeline that gets used over and over and over and over again. So whenever somebody on your team makes changes to a project or an application and they push it to either they push it to main or they make a release, which is probably the better standard, better practice to follow, it's going to run through this entire pipeline. And you want to make sure that you're not releasing bad code, right? So having a testing environment as part of your pipeline is pretty critical in preventing that. Your test environment runs tests created by other engineers, by you, etc. It could, yeah, best practice would be to have tests that check every API, for example, to make sure that they're written correctly, that they're functioning correctly, so that when new features are created and added, this is a way to know ahead of time whether or not it will actually succeed in production. Because if you release bad code to a production environment, basically what your end users see, then you could potentially break the app. Your users are then going to not be able to do things, and they'll probably get frustrated and they might leave and use a different service.
Okay. So PyTest is I'm assuming that's somewhere in the requirements txt.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And so then you're just confirming that it installed correctly, and then it has some it has some pre-built tests that it runs to make sure everything's functional.
Yes, exactly. If you expand the Flask API directory, you should see that there are tests, right?
Ah, okay. And this is where you customize tests for your app.
Yes.
And then PyTest knows to go to the tests folder and do the things.
Hmm.
Ah, very interesting. Learning a lot today. Okay, cool. Let me just does this exist already? No. Locals. Okay.
So, yes, there are some different videos, recordings that go over like the Docker Compose file, right? The Docker Compose file would reference the different Docker files in here. And oh, there's actually a Docker Compose file at the very bottom. So if you click on that, you'll see that there's a template as well for PostgreSQL database, a Flask app, a front end. And this is going to essentially go through every pro folder inside of like your entire project, your repo, and it's going to look for that Docker file, and it's gonna run that Docker file, and it's gonna spin all that up.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, okay, so it will create this this database locally onto the EC2 instance.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling. I'm feeling. It's like, so for me personally, when we do the things, I do it and I'm just like, oh, I got it. Makes sense. I was able to like launch these applications, and then I never do it again. And maybe that's just on me to just have to find more time to keep practicing and doing the things, which
Yeah,
I appreciated last week because I think Sandra was just like, oh, try to do the same thing with the 2048 app and some other application. And then I had the time to kind of, but even just going beyond that and trying to do it more, making it more natural for me. Because I haven't touched Terraform since assessment two. Like I really haven't even looked at a Terraform file then.
I think some of the challenges in Module 3 should have covered using Terraform. But if we need more of that, then that's definitely something that we can look into. There's actually going to be a lot of changes made to the curriculum again for Delta. They want us to, surprise, surprise, incorporate AI.
Oh, wonderful. Because that's what I use to explain this entire